In this video, man, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to keep a woman attracted. This is based on subconscious attraction and female primal desires, which will allow you to make a woman stick around and never get enough of you. Yeah, this has been a game changer for myself as well as for my clients. This is based on 15 years of knowledge. I've prevented breakups, I prevented divorces, I helped guys attract high quality women, high quality girlfriends. And my girlfriend, who I've been with for 5 years, does my meal prep. She's followed me anywhere from UK to Montenegro to South Africa to Spain. So if that's the kind of women, the kind of relationship that you want in your life, stick around and watch this video. You must understand one thing about attraction. Your long-term attractiveness towards women is totally dependent, and this dating and relationships is totally dependent on how well you can satisfy her 5 primal desires. And I'm going to use a castle to explain all this. So the castle stands for your attractiveness. Yeah? You build the most attractive castle, and then ironically, women suddenly start chasing you on dates as well as in the relationship. They keep begging you for more intimacy in the relationship. Why? Because you suddenly become a 1% man that completely crushes his competition. That's why she's like all over you in that moment or in the relationship, because she knows there's no better man like you out there, where you essentially trigger a woman's competition anxiety, and that's why she's gonna put in the work to stay with you, man. You see the beauty of this system and the beauty of this fucking concept, man? That's why I'm so good with women. That's why my clients are so successful with women, because we focus on what actually matters, which is psychological attraction, man. And obviously I'm gonna walk you through the 5 primary desires right now so that you can build the most attractive castle in the world so that you will never have any problems with attracting women or keeping them around. Primary desire number 1 is emotional safety. Think of emotional safety as the walls of your castle. They serve as the foundation and structure of everything. The same applies to emotional safety. It is the foundation of attraction. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I see men make, which totally like fucks up attraction and essentially the walls, yeah, of that castle, is by making women feel unsafe. And they do that. The most predominant problem I see men make, or a mistake men make, is responding logically to emotional problems women have and share with their partner. Let me give you a quick example of that. A couple of months ago, Sandra was coming to me because she was having some issues with her business, lower conversion rate or closing rate on her sales calls, and a low conversion rate on her Instagram posts. Obviously, me as a business owner, I got fucking excited and I put on my business hat, yeah? So I put on my mentor hat and I started offering her solutions and specific fixes to her problem, because I already experienced that 2 years ago, right? So I was way ahead of time of her business, so that's why I could give her advice. Now, Sandra said, oh yeah, thank you. And then only to come back a week later, 2 weeks later, still not implementing my advice. And I was going mad. I was like, why the fuck are you not listening? And what I'd not realized in that moment was, and that was because I was so stuck in my own business in terms of I was working 14 hours a day. I was always in my analytical mindset. I had not taken off the business hat and put on the lover hat again when I was interacting with her. And that's because because of that, I did not listen to what she was saying between the lines. I took everything literal, yeah? So I wasn't viewing her as my lover, I was viewing her as my business partner, which totally ruined attraction in that period. Because, again, I was fixing her problem, which she hadn't asked for. When Sandra came to me with her problem, what she was actually looking for was reassurance. But all she got was advice, because I couldn't fucking help myself trying to fix her problem. And that makes a woman feel totally unsafe, because it conveys to her that you do not understand her emotional needs, and it conveys that you lack empathy and compassion for her, yeah? Even though you have the best interest at heart. So from now on, when your partner comes to you with a problem, with, I don't know, problems with her friends, business, work, whatever it is, instead of rushing to be Bob the Builder and trying to fix her or put your analytical mindset back on, all you got to do is this, man. Look at her. First, either give her a hug. Hugs work perfectly, so that's the first step, because it makes her feel safe. It releases a lot of oxytocin, which is a bonding hormone, so it makes her feel safe. and she feels understood. That's what every woman wants and needs, to feel emotionally safe around you. And then you're going to do something that I call a cold read, which is a technique from sales. I learned that when I was working in finance. It's a perfect technique to overcome objections and also make people feel understood and show empathy and convey empathy. When someone feels understood, they trust you more, they are more likely to open up to you. Yeah. The technique is called a cold read, and it works like that. You just say, it sounds like you feel XYZ. It looks like you are feeling XYZ emotion. And by deploying that cold read, you just convey competence and empathy, which will make a woman totally connected to you. And that will make her feel safe, and that will allow her to open up more to you and open up with her feminine energy to you. By the way, man, this is part of module 6 and 8 of my Hercules method, lead and sexy. In that Hercules method, I teach guys to become the most attractive version of themselves and become the man that women simply cannot resist. Imagine how amazing your life would be if you would have an abundance of quality women around you, or be with that ride or die women. So if you want that kind of amazing relationship in your life, man, why don't you join us? Click the link in the description or in the pinned comment, and I see you inside. Primal desire number 2 is masculine visionary leadership. Think of that as the war room within your castle, yeah, where you define the strategies to conquer more land, to expand your kingdom, so to say, yeah. And that is ultimately attractive because it conveys the king and warrior energy inside of you. And that turns a woman on because it's every woman's desire and deepest fantasy to tame a winner, to tame a wild lion and a king, so to say. And the reason why a lot of men totally kill that fantasy over time is because 99% of men, they turn into fucking Homer Simpson, man. They lose their drive, they lose their ambition for life, for the relationship. They only go to work, come home, play video games, watch TV, Netflix or YouTube, whatever, and then they get fat, they get comfortable, yeah? And they bring that sort of comfort into the relationship, and that makes her totally turn off, because if she has to choose between a fat, lazy Homer Simpson or a shredded, visionary, ambitious Hercules Simpson who creates direction and intention and a vision for the relationship and has crazy hunger and desire for life, who is she going to choose, man? Think about it. Only because she might still love you and she's still with you, even though you're fat and lazy and uncomfortable, doesn't mean she's attracted to you anymore, man. What do you think is going to happen when she switches on TV or on YouTube and she sees a shredded guy who's killing it out there, who's going after his purpose, who has a mission bigger than just making a bit of money? What do you think is going to happen? That makes her wet when she looks at that guy. And she wishes for you to become that man again, because once you were that man. One exercise that I teach my clients as well as do with Sandra every month to convey that I still have relentless hunger for life and have infinite ambition is what I call the vision board and action board exercise. So the beauty of my Hercules method is that I have reached a standard in my relationship where I set and demand things, yeah? I have set the standard of the relationship, so I get to demand things from Sandra. Most men, 99% of men, they have to beg for intimacy. They have to beg for more love. I don't have to do that, man. Sandra does my meal prep. Sandra begs me to sleep with her more than just 4 times a week because I'm the guy, man, you know? So how did I get there? First of all, one of the elements that I do is, developing this vision board and action board. So the way that works is every month we look at the triangle of health, wealth, and love. And we look at, okay, what's our vision for the relationship, and also us individually, because the relationship is the sum of the two of us. And then we define specific goals for us individually and the relationship. So for instance, in wealth, 7-figure entrepreneur, that's our goal, that we become those kind of entrepreneurs. And then when it comes to health, we want visible abs. We want to have a Sandra, like a nice bum, and I want bigger arms. So now this is all going to link back to love, because we also want to work on a deeper connection, and Sandra asks me to at least sleep with her 4 times per week. Now, because she makes the demand of sleeping with her at least 4 times a week, I tell her, you know what? Yeah, if you have visible abs and if you train your splits, because I like when you do splits, is one of my favorite positions. And that leads me to the action board, because a lot of people, especially when it comes to New Year's resolutions or whatever, they set a vision for life and they never take action on it, or they take the wrong action, and then they never manifest or achieve their goals. So the next thing that you need to do with your girl is to write down the specific actions that you will take in order, and she will take in order to help you achieve these goals. You do an audit of the actions that are needed to be taken, and then break them down to be as specific as possible. Primal desire number 3 is the desire for protection, and this is essentially the queen's guard of your castle. So what does this mean? Have a spine and stand up when it matters. There are two sides to this, external as well as internal. So external, for instance, means that you are standing up for her to the outside world. Yeah. So one example, for instance, was last week or a couple of weeks ago, I don't remember exactly. Sandra was on the hotline with a customer service representative, and she was getting visibly upset, and I noticed that. And she put him on speaker, and I realized this guy was actually quite disrespectful in his tonality and very dismissive in his tone. So I grabbed the phone and said, I told him, hey, bro, shut the fuck up. Don't talk to my woman like that. And then the conversation took a different turn. Yeah. And that was that way, it made Sandra so appreciated, and that made her feel so protected, because it conveyed that I am standing up for her. I don't give a shit what other people think about me, when it essentially harms Sandra or puts Sandra at risk. Another way, obviously, is to do combat sport and convey that you physically are strong enough to protect her from, I don't know, the wrong guys, so to say. Yeah. So that's kind of simple. Then we have the internal masculine sort of protection that she's looking for, and this is actually between you and her. And what I mean by that is that you need to stand up to her so that you can show her that you can stand up for her. Yeah. So what do I mean by that? A woman will over time test you. Yeah. She will test you to spot your weakness, because if you're weak, that will put her essentially at risk, and that makes you unattractive. Now, in a relationship, actually not even a relationship, but also on dates, women need to feel your masculine resistance. Yeah, so you have to say no when it's difficult to say no. So for instance, I'm going to give you an example with Sandra, and I'm going to give you another example from a date. A couple of weeks ago, I started opening my company in Dubai, and when I told Sandra, she was all excited. She was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go to Dubai, when you have to go there to get your visa and everything set up, which is going to be a 1 or 2 week trip. And I was like, Sandra, I love to hear that, but I'm going to go there by myself. And it was difficult for me to convey that or communicate that, because obviously when we love a woman, we want the best for her, But it's a busy trip. I'm not there to chill. And right now I'm in a very busy period in my business. So no, you can't go with me, because I have to focus on work. That obviously wasn't easy for me. I hated to do it, but it had to be done. And she respected me for it. And that makes her turn on more, because a woman is only attracted to a man who she respects. And another example is from a date, actually. I was once on a date with a Spanish girl for a couple of dates, and every time I teased her at the beginning, she started hitting me here on my arm, and I disliked that, because it was actually quite painful, because she hit a spot here. And she did it once, I let it slide. Second time, she hit me again. I said hey, can you stop doing that? And she smiled, and I realized, okay, now she knows there's a potential weak spot. She's going to test me on that again. And guess what? I teased her, and guess what she did? She hit me again. You know what I did? I stood up, I looked at her, and I said to her, hey, do it one more time, and I'm leaving. It conveyed that I'm ready to walk away, and that sex or pussy does not matter to me as much as my self-respect. I'm not willing to sacrifice my self-respect. And by me standing up and setting that boundary, it turned her on. How do I know? When I fucked her, she told me it turned me on so much when you set that boundary, because I felt that energy from you, and not a lot of men are capable of doing that. Primal desire number 4 is fantasies. Think of that as the secret chamber of your castle. What you need to understand about women, man, is that they have two sides to them. The good girl, the good woman, and the bad girl. Yeah. the yin and the yang inside of her. That's her dark feminine energy, the bad girl. Now she can't be a bad girl, she can't show her dark feminine energy if you are only a good guy. So I'm not telling you to become a bad guy. I'm not telling you to become a dickhead. What I'm telling you is to convey some of the traits of these bad boys that make them so attractive. One of them is to tap into your own dark masculine energy. I call it the Don Juan energy. So the way I do that in my relationship with Sandra is by essentially assuming attraction 24/7 and by constantly teasing and flirting her, because I know that the foreplay does not start in the bedroom, it starts outside of the bedroom. So what do I mean by that? When Sandra's currently in Poland, and she started, like, obviously she texted me like, hey, good morning, or some random messages throughout the day. Now I could respond logically to her good morning message with, hey, good morning, babe, how did you sleep? Or good morning, Bambi, because that's her nickname. Or I can assume attraction, I can step into my Don Juan archetype and can say, good morning, Bambi, I hope you didn't dream too much of me. That is cocky, it's confident. Now that turns her on because I allow her to move away from the good girl energy into the bad girl energy. You have to lead with that, man. A woman, unless she's a Tiffany the Throat machine, who's a like party girl and a slut essentially, no feminine, high quality woman will ever lead with the bad girl. She wants you to lead with the bad boy in you and your dark masculine energy, the Don Juan energy, before she starts opening up and showing you the bad girl side of yours. Yeah. So keep flirting, keep teasing in the relationship to convey to her, show her that the bad girl is always welcome. And when she's showing you the bad girl, don't shame her for it. And also like rise to the occasion. So in the bedroom, blindfolds, pull her hair a bit, you know. Own your deepest, darkest desires in the bedroom as well. Primal desire number 5 is emotional connection. View that as the royal gardens of your castle. So what does this mean? She wants you to get to know her on a deeper level. She wants to get you to know her. Primal desire number 5 is emotional connection, which is essentially the royal gardens of your castle. So she wants you to get to know her on a deeper level. That means her authentic self, her inner child, and her essentially childlike nature. So how do you do that? Assume a frame of the relationship that is essentially a playground. Yeah. So nothing's too serious. Keep things light, even heavy conversations, as well as asking her deeper questions throughout the week on your date night, for instance. Yeah, you can ask questions like, hey, what's your deepest desire? What are your biggest dreams? What would be your biggest regret? All of those questions allow her to open up to you and share her most vulnerable side. Once she does this, the glue of the connection between the two of you is going to be so strong that is almost like, I don't say unbreakable, but you cannot rip it apart anymore. And when you allow her to reveal her truest, authentic self as in her most vulnerable side, yeah, that's when you've essentially won the jackpot, because that's when she's going to be the most feminine, your biggest supporter, your biggest champion, and she's going to follow your lead no matter what, because you are one in the million guys who actually managed to allow her to be her true, authentic self.